Now, some people might be like, well, how do we know you're not a mimic? I think I say things that are too stupid to be a mimic. And she's like, I buried my husband in my backyard. And I was like, oh my god, is this person even real? Today I am going to discuss Jewish mysticism. I'm going to explain why the universe was created, the purpose for our existence, the afterlife. I'm gonna explain a lot of things. Just got my tefillin on, the gear. We're all ready to go. So we start at the beginning, to the time when the universe was just God. So before the universe even existed, only God existed. In order to create the universe, he drew in a portion of himself, a part of his light, and he was consecrating it into 10 vessels known as the Sephirot. 5 are on the upper level, 5 on the lower level. The ones on the lower level shattered, and when they shattered, they spread shards into the universe. 288 shards. Every family we know of today is connected to one of these shards, and these shards became millions. And they scattered all over the universe, and most of them on Earth. So as the shards were descending through space, they began attracting a parasitic energy known as the klipot. So you're going to ask, a kli what? A klipot. And it's basically a virus-like condition that contaminates the shards, and it ends up surrounding them in a dead spiritual husk. The husk makes them averse to the light of God, to, I guess, logic, reason, understanding. They are creatures which are driven by baser emotions, those who have given into the klipot. The reason we exist is to reclaim the shards that were covered with the klipot. And basically, we are the test that God has to redeem, and the shards encompass aspects of our reality. So the lower shards, they were the ones with lower, baser desires. So the 10 most heavenly, that's why they don't come easily to us, and why we're always driven by these baser desires, is because that's the energy in the world that is not under God's control anymore. It's our struggle, right? It's within us. It contaminates us too, right? The more awake you are to the realities of evil, the more you're also susceptible to evil itself. Anyways, we will continue. So, what's the main purpose? So, our purpose is to redeem shards and fight evil, and the evil is what the klipot feed on. So, evil deeds, right? Like when people have evil thoughts and they give into those evil thoughts, they end up feeding the klipot. And then, if you look back on how did the fall of Babylon happen? Well, it specifically says that there was no more a soul that had a decent thought in his mind, and all the world thought of a bad thing all at once, because they were so consumed with thinking about bad things that then brought on God's wrath, right? It's as long as there are those of us who still think about good things, then the ruination of man won't come upon us. So we must always fight that, and we must always do our part to spread God's majesty. It doesn't matter if you're born Jewish, if you're born Christian, Muslims, or Austrian. It doesn't matter what religion you belong to. If at the end of the day you understand that the core purpose of your religion is to do good, and doing good tends to come naturally to most people, and to the people who don't understand why, like, the little girl deserves to be protected, like, probably more than, like, the 23-year-old guy who doesn't have a job, doesn't do anything, right? Like, and like just got caught robbing something. Then I think it should be kind of obvious. Now, I'm not saying that this kid is like irredeemable. He's redeemable, for sure he's redeemable. But like, how did he rob the person, number one, right? Like, and then there's other factors, but the little girl hasn't done anything. So obviously you're gonna go defend the little girl, right? Like, I would defend the little girl. I would defend the 23-year-old too, probably, but I'm just saying, if I have to pick one, then, you know, you're supposed to make the easy call here. And you are supposed to, like, I guess, weigh things. I guess if the little girl was, like, super evil, right, then there's that. And some little girls are super evil. The manifestations of evil are, like, a broad spectrum. And they can happen very, very early, where you know early on that, like, there's an evil spirit that you're dealing with, because it's kind of abnormal. And you'd be amazed how drawn people who are close to doing God's work are to people who have these issues, because I guess we have to experience this firsthand to know it. Right? It's like I was destined to meet these people. I'm sure remember. So, alright, so we're always doing God's work, and we're waging spiritual warfare against the forces of darkness. That's basically our existence. Our purpose is to constantly do good and to constantly set an example. And every time we don't do that, every time we give in, every time we let just like that part of ourselves that wants to just like break out, win, then we become weaker people for that, right? Like, we give in to the parts of ourselves that we live to regret for the rest of our lives. It's like, whenever we do something really bad, we will actually be those people that need to remember 15 years later that you did that stupid thing, and don't do it again because it was stupid, right? Did like it in that moment, you may have felt good, like, you know, physically assaulting some random property of yours, like things that you own, right? And then you do that, and you're like, why did I do that thing to the thing that I owned? I wonder why we did that. It's not a good thing that we did to the thing that we owned. So it broke, and Anna saw it. That's funny. Now I know. All right, so I said spiritual warfare, and you're like, oh, spiritual warfare, what's that? Okay, so spiritual warfare is effectively done in two ways. You're either going to be like the really kind, jovial Jew who God really didn't empower, like necessarily in the same way he empowers everyone, and you know, maybe you're just like a little too trusting, and at least you know to just like keep to your own. And so these people just have to do good. They just have to help. They do good by doing good deeds, right? They're expected to live their life, have kids, enjoy the world and its splendors, and like shower it to others, and you know, they have easygoing lives, and they enjoy the whole splendor of kind of like whatever environment they're in. And that's what they're meant to do. They're meant to show the like good parts of life, the jovial aspects of life. Like, these are good things to obtain and have. Like, these are happy people, right? And then there's those of us who we choose to go down very dark paths, right? And some of us don't understand that, like, we've always sought these creatures out. We just didn't understand how to what's the word I'm looking for? We didn't understand what they were, right? Like, we knew at an early age that there were these nefarious forces at play, and that like they needed confronting and exposing. But I think a lot of us realized by around the age of 18, 19, 20, you know, you speak to people and they just think you're kind of crazy when you bring these things up. And so you just end up withdrawing, and just a lot of us end up on the down and dark, trodden path, and people don't realize that a lot of the most brilliant people I knew were people who had the same problems I did, and they're not here anymore, and it's unfortunate because they're very smart people, and they could have really helped us out these days, because they made some bad decisions, and they were punished for it, and forever punished and rebuked and constantly reminded. And I was one of those people, because I remember warning all sides, and I think all sides would remember this too, that I was always why this is bad for all parties. All parties are bad here. So what can you do, right? But rebuke people and offer your terms. I can't force people to do things. If I force them to do it, then I'm at fault for all the consequences and fallout that happens afterwards. So it's are you willing to take that burden on yourself and then act as that emissary for that person if they do fall into trouble, and you're okay, now I have to stop my life to defend this person because I stepped into his life, and I knew him, and he trusted me, and that's the only reason I know. And these are all things you need to weigh with yourself, right? And then kind of judge it against how much trust do I have in the government that's now in charge of meting out justice in people's names? Are they going to be better at this or worse at this than me just not meddling at all? And I think often the answer becomes no meddling, and that's why people choose it. And then society degrades, and people want to fault us, and it is our fault, but it's not, because we also are listen, guys, what's up? You know what I mean? Okay, so we continue. Our existence is gifted with abilities, designed for a purpose. Every time we die, we are reborn with the abilities that we kind of earned in the past life, right? So if we did good things in the past life, we are going to be blessed in the next life with abilities better equipped to confront what we pretty much always confront. So when you get really deep into Kabbalah and Jewish mysticism, they talk about how you basically confront the same powerful forces in your life every time, and that you're kind of this is your destiny, right? You must confront these forces. So when you confront these forces head on and you're fulfilling your purpose, right, the consequences of how you engage in that is kind of the fruits of what you reap in the next life. And Jewish mysticism talks about 7 gateways you go through, and how each of the gateways becomes more difficult than the next, and then how ultimately at the last gateway we basically all fail, because that's what we're supposed to do. Very few of us do the right thing, because doing the right thing would then elevate us, and if we elevated, we're basically that's the real afterlife. Otherwise you're in the circuit, you're in the reality maker, right? And the thing is that we are needed, I guess, for this. This is our purpose, right? Is to what's the word I'm looking for? We exist to perform a function, right? And that function is determined in that moment. But along the way, each of the gateways is supposed to build us to that moment, and in turn, our what we do through the gateways, it makes our siblings and parents stronger in their own way. So if we do the right thing, they grow stronger. Sometimes we go stronger too. Most of the time we go stronger, yeah, if we're doing the right thing. Sometimes we can do the wrong thing and they can still grow stronger, I guess, because that's kind of just the purpose of it, but probably not. Yeah, I kind of wandered off there. All right, so according to Kabbalah, right, so you have the two ways we just described as spiritual warfare. You've got your you're doing good deeds, right? And then you've got your engaging evil head on. Now, what does that even mean? right? Like, that's pretty crazy thing to say. So in order to know what evil is, right, God normally is going to have us descend down a pathway where we confront evil, where we see evil, right? Where we see the reality that few people often can, because they've never been around people who are willing to take those kinds of masks off and expose themselves in ways that, like, you won't see many people expose themselves, right? And then it really becomes like, where do your morals begin? Where do your morals end? Like, what door are you willing to go through, and what door are you, like, willing to stand up and be like, hey, I'm out, right? Like, I don't want to do this anymore, or I'll never do this again, right? Like, a lot of people can often argue that, they were naive and didn't know. And that works, like, the first time. But, like, by the second time, you should know better, right? Like, it's like, oh, I see you, right? Like, so now we know when pattern recognition software goes off in our minds that we should probably listen to it, because that too is the shard, right? Those of us who have consciences. I think that's right. Yeah, that's right. All right, so okay, so this is easy, right? So the more gifts you have that God gives you, the harder He's going to make whatever game you're supposed to play, right? So the game that's set up, it's more difficult, right? Like, than it's supposed to be. And the burden is often on you, right? It's like, if you must be seasoned for whatever reason, and like, you just, for whatever, right? Like, there's a million reasons you can think of. Every person has his own destiny, I guess you could call it. But, like, we should always remember that, like, the goal must always be to exhaust every single avenue of logic, reason, and not resorting to the more base sephirot, right? The aspects of reality, the ones that, like, we're constantly afflicted by. We cannot allow that to rule over us. If we do that, we are horrible people. Now, the magic game. So I've been clipping out the best parts, right? So those are the best parts, what I'm trying to do with the magic. I'm just trying to show you guys, like, the best games, because I play a lot of games, but a lot of them are just, like, really boring. I'm going to make a compilation of, like, these are the games where I win in, like, turn 3, like, turn 3 every time, where it's like, some of them are no skill at all. But anyways, they're good to see, because it, like, shows you, like, some tactics that people might not be thinking of. You gotta understand what your opponent's doing very early on, right? Within the first spell that they throw down, you gotta know what they're doing. Okay, so that's enough of the magic talk, because I think some people are here just for the magic. And I think I play decent. I've only got like 3 or 4 weeks in. I'm already like diamond tier 1. I think I can do it, guys. I think I can get into the tops. I always excelled at one win format. That was always one of my, like, strongest suits. It's like, I always win game 1. But then they're on to me, right? They know how to play it. They know I'll, like, go for it. And then it's like, but I don't have it. But I have to go for it sometimes. Sometimes you just have to go for it, Magic, right? Like, there's no option. It's like, maybe they just have land. Maybe. It's like a 5% chance, but maybe. I love when they're just down to 1 card, though, and they're blue, right? That's when you're like, I got you, bro. Yeah, I know what that is. If that was the spell, you would have sent it at me. This is where it becomes, so we're like, I've been telling you, like, we got to be able to spot it, right? That's where it's your duty to do, right? And you have to know evil to hunt it. You really do. Like, you have to know the different shades of it, and you have to know the difference between, like, a man who did something because he was, like, compelled to, and a man who did it because he gains, like, a pleasure out of it. because those two are often not the same thing. And often the man who like it's like I've never been a part of like something really bad, I don't think. Even with my sketchy memory, I think the worst I ever did was myself. Because like I always just like separated myself from those kinds of people very quickly, right? Like very early on you can tell like, yo, this person's like just like bad news, man. Like you just like this is like someone who has no rules. And like people who have no rules are very dangerous people, right? Like you should have rules. Rules are important. Rules are what separate us, really, I think. It's like the good people have these like yo, I don't cross that line. It's too much. Right? It's too much. Even if we might like make jokes, it's too much. According to Kabbalah, right? So you have the people who do the mitzvahs, and then like, the people whose duty is to confront evil. So where are we? I'm not keeping through the call. Because I'm like, no, that'll be too lame, right? I'm just reading off the script. That'll be lame. Even if I drift for a couple seconds, I think people will understand, like, I'm not stupid, I'm just like old. The machinery's not working as good as it used to. That's my excuse. The trials we undergo are designed to forge us stronger, right? And I think I already said that. All right, so there are some kinds of evils that can't be reasoned with, can't be persuaded to join the forces of light, can't be redeemed. They're exceedingly rare, and they do exist. That's like Adolf, Mr. Mustache Man, and yeah. So in these cases, the klipot have so thoroughly parasitized the spark that they're attached to, right? That and every spark has a klipot like attached to it. That's just like a consequence of like their existence draws these things, and these things are a natural consequence of reality. They're just like creatures from the other world, right? Like, and the Nephilim are basically byproducts of that. They're attached to this. We'll get to them in a minute. So these are people who like have no concept of good, right? Like who sadists, right? Like people who genuinely enjoy harming others and then like mimic like they're good people. Imagine like the priests who end up as like those guys that do those things that they shouldn't do, that everybody told them they shouldn't do, and now they're like, oh yeah, we shouldn't do that. And it's like, but guys, you totally knew, but I won't get into that. And yeah, I just don't want to. It's not my thing right now. So they have no concept of good. They don't understand gratitude. If you show them compassion, they basically like scoff at it. They're like, what is this, right? Like, you weak, useless fool. Like, you should have gotten rid of me when you had the chance. Like, it's that guy. That's the guy. That's the guy we're talking about. That's the guy. So, and these guys do exist. Trust me. It's like, I don't know, like, it's sad that you have to be like, I have to just like never speak to you again because you're a horrible person, and if I do, I should probably just like, that's where the government might actually play a decent role. Like, please just make sure this person doesn't bother me anymore, please, or humanity. How, like, like in the other video, after your like 78th chance, ... where like you bit and harmed someone, he used to keep knives in his underwear and smoke. Crazy guy, Derek. However, they mimic people very well. Now, some people might be like, well, how do we know you're not a mimic? I think I say things that are too stupid to be a mimic. I think that's like how we know for sure I can't be a mimic. Because some of the things I say is like, why would he say that if he was really thinking everything really carefully before he said it. Just not how my mind works. Too much information going on to ever like if I read from a script, it sounds robotic, like almost like the Mohammed hijab thing, right? It's like the only reason why it sounded so good is because like it came from him, right? Those were his words, not mine. I was just being his words for him. I loved it. I had a lot of fun making that video. I want to make another one like it. I liked it a lot. He said some really funny things. They are people who, yeah, okay, no, we did that. And so in ancient times, the Klipot were giants. So they were the Nephilim, right? Well, the strongest among them. The ones who had completely overtaken one of the shards, they would become, one of the giants. Okay. Men are renowned, the byproducts of angels mating with humans. And then what happens? They create Babylon. So they get their wish. All the humans think of a bad thing all at the same time because they're all like doing degenerate things with Nephilim. They're like all gambling together and they're just fornicating in the streets. And that's what it basically describes in the Torah, and how they were all speaking in different tongues. They had forgotten how to communicate with each other, and like they just communicated with like, I guess, their more base carnal desires, right? That's kind of what it's implying. So something to remember. And then the flood happens, right? So when the flood happens, the Nephilim, who are actually like the manifestations of this Klipot, right? Like they're like now connected to them because they too are like infused by the essence of like the netherworld where all this junk comes from, which is like where like what becomes of like the angels spawn with humans, because like that was never meant to happen, right? Like if the angels were in service of God the way that God had intended, and they hadn't rebelled and been seduced by the beauty of human women, then that wouldn't have happened. So that's something to consider. So without anywhere to go, they're just like drifting aimlessly, and that's when Noah has his sons, and the curse that God bestows on, I think it was Ham and like one other of his sons, Cain and Ham. I think it's Cain and Ham. So they make pacts with these demons, right? And these demons end up being the ones who draw the curse of God onto them. It's because they made those pacts with those demons, and because it's the fact that they took them on into their bloodlines, that now, like, every time they're born with the promises they made with those Nephilim. So a lot of them were promised power, glory, wealth, right? And even though they might like have, like, there's often a cost for this, right? Like, they suffer a cost for this. And they're always trying to find ways in this world to offset that cost, but it always catches up to them, right? And that's kind of like the game that they have played since the beginning of time with their own souls, where it's like they have tried to like barter and like cheat with them with the demons, right? As a way to kind of bend God's natural law and laugh at like the rules that he set, because like rules by nature like are an aversion to them, especially God's rules, right? Like the common decency that man should have, that to them is an affront, because to them that's almost like a weakness, right? Like they don't feel the sympathy and pity that we do. They just know how to weaponize and mimic it and kind of use it to get what they want, what they need. And then God also creates David, right? King David and his line and basically anoints them and says, like, you are the ones who will hunt the darkness for me, right? Like, you are the ones who raise my banner and basically declared to the world that like we will not yield to the dark forces of mankind, and that like in our land God will protect us so long as we believe in him. And people should remember that, like, you know, when you think about like the provenance of Judaism, and you think about like how we call it Zion today, and how like we dig up coins from like when the Jews were under Roman occupation, and they still showed like, you know, the Judean king's like head, and or no, it might have been actually the Caesar at that point. But anyways, there's some, I'm sure, with the Judean king's head, and then like it'll show like right up above it says freedom to Zion, right? Where it basically says like, you know, like one day we will be free of the Roman rule. I'm not even sure if those were legal coins or whatever. I don't even know. Like during that era, I saw them like online. But I hear they're not even that uncommon in Israel, and that they constantly dig stuff like that up where it's like in Hebrew, and it's like, it clearly shows that like we've been practicing this for like generation to generation for a long time. There's too much like uniformity between the customs and the regions that all the Jews came from, where it shows a continuity that like we understand within our own cultures and enclaves, that like this is authentically Jewish, because like, you know, all these kind of like secrets, right? And it's like, this is before the internet. They all came together and kind of like came to understand like whose provenance is real and whose isn't, because like this wasn't just like freely taught about, right? Like it's like, we actually, if you DNA test us, most, like a lot of us are relatives. We look like we're supposed to be like we look like we're fourth relatives if you don't dig into the DNA deeper and then see that like it's actual eighth, fair, like we're 8 generations apart, but we look like we're 4 generations apart, because our original ancestors are basically all the same. So when you go back far enough, we all originate from the same people, which are like survivors of like a massacre, basically. And that's been the nature of our people for a long time, is that we get massacred and then we have to like rebuild ourselves, and we're constantly hunted, right? It's like our grandparents told us this when we were like little kids. So it's just like not things we even want to talk about. I don't even want to say certain words because they just like, they make sure the videos don't go anywhere. We don't want that, right guys? We don't want to talk about bad things. So the main purpose we have is to redeem the sparks. Anybody can do it. You don't have to be Jewish. You don't have to be Christian. You just have to be a decent person. You have to understand what your purpose is and to be decent. Just be kind, be good. That's fine. But like, you're not supposed to do it to help like bad people. Like that's the opposite of what God wants you to do. God does not want you to like go out and feel bad for people that like G-point and like who like mask up and do really bad things and like just say awful things and then never want to like actually own it, right? Like if you're gonna say some wild stuff and give people some really bad advice, then I don't know, right? Like I don't think you should I don't think people should take you seriously if like you're like, yo, this guy, man, you just don't understand. He just brought this like clacker and just like sprayed the wall to scare the guy, and then he accidentally hit the guy in the other room. You don't understand. He didn't mean to hit. It's like, bro, are you crazy? Are you insane? Like you think this is a ordinary like this is the guy you want to feel bad for? You couldn't pick any other people. There's so many people that deserve like our pity, and then that's who you're like, no, that guy. No, bro. Nobody buys that. Nobody buys it. That's a load of garbage. No, that's bullshit. I just don't want to murk the vid. I would speak my mind, but that's horrible. That's horrible to imagine a world where like we have to pretend that like these are the people that we want to cry over, when like we're seeing like these poor people just get taken advantage of. And then the other people are like, well, you should have been like as depraved as me, and then you'd understand why like we have to make them wear mummy costumes. It's like, no, bro, we could just do with you, right? Like, you don't have to live that way. Nobody has to live that way. There has to be a common understanding that like you can't just always get what you want, because if we do, then you're hurting the people that don't deserve it, and it's like that's when it should become intolerable. That's where you should cry, right? You can cry for anybody, these strangers, you know. Okay, I like to, you know, it's like real men don't talk about when they cry, and the women that know us know that like too often we're prone to it. But when push comes to shove, we're the last people that you want to be like, yeah, you cry, yeah, your feelings, I just pretend. These people. Alright, so one thing to remember is that these people are very rare, right? These are not your common people. These people are like exceedingly rare. I call them the Derricks of the world, right? These are like literal like demons. These are people who are just like spiritually dead. So most people aren't that evil. Most people are just like the Klippa has tarnished their connection to a shard so much that they all they see is pain and understand pain, and they become disassociated with God, because basically science is pretending like it has answers for them that don't actually exist, and voices like ours aren't strong enough to challenge them, right? It's like the people that exist as experts in most of academia have gone through the rigors and struggles to hold the title that they have. They're not going to put that up on the line to just propose our logical fallacy arguments, because like those aren't good arguments where science is concerned. Science looks at things like in its own little box. It's like, no, all these other things that you want to introduce, that's not how it works. It's like a book of law almost. It's like, these are the rules. They have to stay within the rules of the game that I call expertise in. Once you bring other things in, I will then bring other arguments in to be like, well, see this point of view? That's why your tangential basis for that, I raised this thing that's 3%. So let's do that. Okay, so you got 3% here. And they begin this like pattern of like, they're always going to propose these things that are like, well, that's probably not true though. But it's like, but can you prove it? No. Can you prove yours? No, but like mine makes sense, yours doesn't. Doesn't matter, right? Like they're gonna be like, well, mine is still possible. So that's the main argument that you'll find, is that like with people that are spiritually dead, they're very good at like finding a reason to be like, well, I do this because of this, right? And that's where it really becomes incumbent on people who are good to be like, well, why don't you try doing it this way instead, and then maybe things will work out better for you, right? But then if we don't act as an example, then we're going to struggle a lot, right? And that's kind of just the sad nature of what we do. Let's put the glasses on. Alright. So we have these shards. They broke. They became the millions of sparks, right? That we're now trying to collect, and we're trying to redeem. And every time we redeem a new shard, it's added to like our family collection, and like it's our purpose. Like we're driven to find these things and redeem them and bring them back to us. And then once we do, they can come back in the next life and help us again, right? Help more of us. And the goal that we should have is, you know, being good to these people, being good to one another, showing them that our way is the right way, right? Like to get them thinking the way that we almost would, to get them thinking, well, how do I help this person? Because it makes me feel good, because that person's going to be grateful to me, right? Because I'm doing the right thing. People like the affirmation, right? So society has to affirm the right things. Because we stop affirming the right things, we're getting the wrong behavior. and that becomes a trickle-down effect, and then the worst people just take it and just warp it into something where you're like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like, I'm not a necromancer, bro. Like, I don't do the things that you do, right? I'm not into that. I don't want to talk to like zombies in a graveyard. That's not my thing, right? Like, that's for you. You go have fun with that. I'm gonna do my thing. I would rather like I enjoy learning about these things, but I don't want to experience it. I'm good, right? I can only imagine what you're gonna do. I don't need to know the specifics. I'm fairly certain I'll know when I see it, like what you were doing here, right? Like, especially when you took it too far and maybe started like moving the soil like a madman, right? Because that's what ends up happening to people who do those things. Anyways, so I remember one time I was telling a story, I think it's from a few people. I saw this little lady, she had one classroom, and I've never been so free in my life. I was like, oh my God. I can even feel it today. I don't feel fear often anymore like that. Wow, she's serious so much. And then there was the lady, she told me the craziest thing. I'm standing in the superstore, and she's like laughing at me, and my dog's in my arms, and my dog doesn't like her, he's like growling. I'm turning and coming, and she's like, I buried my husband in my backyard. And I was like, oh my god, is this person even real? Is this person even real? That's what I was thinking. I told my roommate, he was like, I don't know what to say. I was like, say it, bro. That's what happened to me at the low blow. Oh my god. Okay. So we have to also remember, so Nephilim are attached to the Klipot, right? They're all connected. And the Klipot are like family to one another. Like, they're all like almost like one tribe. Like, you know, they're their own creation. They're united with one another. They want to help each other. They actually do feel for one another. So they care about each other, right? They don't care about us. They care about their own kind. So we're constantly kind of odds. And then we have to be very, very discerning to not mix up people who are just like spiritually dead with the people who are like just like way far gone plus spiritually dead, right? Like, the people who are just spiritually dead, we can revive them. We can be good. They can be shown the light. A lot of them just need to be reminded what a good and kind and decent society is, right? That's what like we should always strive for. That's what defines us, right? And when we stray into these other ideas, these other thoughts and concepts, and we just like start like labeling everything a patriarchy, like, I don't think any woman that ever met me would define me as someone who is extremely controlling. And like, I think I possess a very like liberal, ordinary view where it's like, everybody has their own agency, and like everybody's heard that a person normally tell them like, yo, you shouldn't do this, and then they just choose to continue doing the bad thing that they do. It's like, you can't, like, you know, like, you want to fix people, but it's like, you can't fix them the way that you necessarily want to. A lot of people have to want to be fixed, and then what you have to provide is the purpose for that, and you can't provide the purpose for that by like creating this alternate weird reality where just like everything is super weird, right? Where everything is an inversion of what it's supposed to be, and then you're just like, well, what's the point of anything? This is all just weird. So at the end of the day, photo family, and their goal is to recreate Babylon. right? And prove that we as humans, that we're just as bad as they are. We'll always be as bad as they are, and that's all they really exist for. It's just to like lower us, debase us, and then like be like, aha, see God, like look at your favorites. Look, you still look at don't they embarrass you? Like that's what he wants, right? And that's what they exist for. So, and this is because God has no purpose for them, and because they were created outside of his plan, right? Because they were created outside of his plan, because the angels were like God's most trusted servants. Imagine like your most trusted creation ever, right? Your top dog, the thing that you were always like, yo, this guy, he knows that when I go and I take care of these other 20,000 other planets that I created according to the Talmud, the Babylonian Talmud, I got things to do, right? Like, so he's not going to be upset. I don't have time to like chat with him like I used to when I first started creation, and I had time, and he probably sat with his angels and got to know them. He doesn't have time for them anymore, and they get neglected, and they get resentful and bitter, right? Like, and that's just how it is. It's like the emanations of evil were more solidified back then. Therefore, like whatever is afflicted by them from those ancient times, right? Like it's like that likelihood to defy God and just like be utterly opposed to him is in far higher concentration, right? Like, so the concentration is higher, so there you go. Concentration is higher than before. So by opening them up to a spark and showing them kinship and closeness, it should define all of humanity. And we want to teach them that the universe was created by a higher power, right? We want to use mathematics. We want to use the argument of the missing link. So people always argue this missing link thing to me, where they're like, oh, we have this DNA that proves they all came from the same thing. I'm like, but you haven't found the thing. You haven't found the thing that proves that we came from it. So how can you say that we're part of that chain? Yeah, okay, so you show all the cavemen are related, right? Like, okay, cool story, right? Like, these are all cavemen. They're all related. But we're not related to them. They deviate from us, right? And none of them should, like, you're like, okay, well, you fit in here, and then you moved it, and then you moved it again, and then you moved it again. Because you don't know where we actually fit in. You're just like, well, this looks a little the same at that point, way past, and then it deviated, so, right? Like, you got your little formula you made up that's based on nothing, based on just like some guys in a basement rolling, this, you can make this argument. And then you're like, okay, sure, let's do that. And that's what the missing link is. That's why they can't find it. How are you able to find every single one but the one that you need? Isn't that just like too convenient? They found like 10 different ones. They're like, we found this one here, and this one there, and that one. They're like, each one that we found lots of them. They're like all over, and they were like all over. And like, they're from this time period. And then these guys are from that time period. And they're like, well, we can't even find the one that came from you guys. You guys are just, we can't find the one. We can't find the one that came, or the ones that came and then became. Right? Like, we don't have any of that. We have a whole separate line of like Neanderthal that's like not human. It's not human. It's just not. It's like some other creature. It's not human, right? And that's kind of what the science shows right there. What you said is too much. Too much. Talking about Neanderthals. What are you implying, sir? Well, I'm implying that, like, science doesn't have a lot of answers for us, right? Look up biological chemistry, and then you learn about, like, peptides and liptides, and you learn about, like, how a cell is formed. And then, like, biological chemistry looks at the components that comprise a cell. So you're looking at, like, the structure of a cell, right? You're looking at, like, how is this cell formed? And then they look at each component and they're like, okay, the logical explanation for the creation of life is that, like, okay, well, this cell began as this, and then it morphed that, and this became that, and that became this, and this became that, and that. And then we get the cell, right? But their problem is that the cell has like 1,000 parts in it. We can't see, because humans are like, well, I can't see it. So, It's like, right? Like, it's like when you don't see very much. Right? It's like, true, I even need these glasses now. So we don't see very much, and the cell is composed of so many parts, and there's no functional way for the cell, for the part to morph. So like, okay, so you start with the one duveen, and then you're like, okay, now turn into two duveens, right? Like turn into the second thing that you needed to turn into, and then you have like 6 hours before the first thing is gone. So every structure of a cell has like a lifespan, like how long it lives without the rest of the things sustaining it altogether. And they found that like it sustains for like a couple hours and then it dies. There are not enough processes that it can go through in the time that it's alive to mutate from like this thing to the cell. So the whole concept of this like, well, it just grows. It grows. No, it doesn't do that. It doesn't do that. Cells don't do that. Cells are like way too mathematically perfect and designed to be some kind of random thing that came out of the universe, like out of pure entropic chaos. It's the most ridiculous argument in the world. Even though the Big Bang Theory is almost described in how the universe was created, the universe, which is like the shards coming down, right? That's almost like a Big Bang, right? It's like, here is like, there was nothing, and then bang, I threw in a bunch of stuff from the Sephiroth that I was making, and that interjected this reality you come to understand today and interact with. Like that is the consequence of that event, right? Like, and you are just interspersed in between that, and your soul is like connected to this life force that was brought in, which is God's consecrated power manifesting itself in reality, and then driving you to find more of it and return it to God, because that ultimately becomes the purpose for the whole thing, right? It's like to create a hero, you must create the circumstances for the hero to arise. Is the way to understand the complexity between our reality and what we must strive for, what we know is the purest and rightest way, and then like what we're driven to is like this base animal, like, right? Like we inhabit this like human form that's like afflicted in the same way all souls are, because all souls are animal souls. All souls have an animal soul in them, a primordial animal soul. It's a human battery. Every soul has one. Every person has one. Every person has a primordial soul. And then every person is connected to a spark. And then the question is like, is your spark covered in the klipot or not? If it's covered in the klipot, if you live your life outside of God, and you live unhappy, and you're like, oh, God cursed me early on, why would he do this? I hate him, I'm never going to think about him, I'm going to do bad things. Then it's like, well, your next life's going to be bad too, and you're going to wonder why. And it's like, well, because you did bad things, right? Like, we have to do good things. This world, as tainted as it is, we are all easily seduced by bad things in the same way that humans were in Babylon. And we have to remember that and think hard when we're creating societies that we want. It's like, what do we want? And I can tell you, like, all extremes are bad, right? Like, every angle you look at an extreme is bad. And that's the problem. It's like, people want to normalize these extreme points of view, and they're not. It's not okay. Like, I used to kind of think these ideas were worth dabbling into too. But then you understand, like, the people who have these ideas have no plans ever for anything. They're the worst people to ever consider for any kind of long-term plan, short-term plan, any plan. These are very whimsical people. They don't understand what consequences are. They do things based on like what they just think is right. They don't pause enough to be like, they're not responsible people. So you can't, if you're not a responsible person and you don't really understand like what's really going on, and you're just like gonna listen to the people who are basically there to lie to you, to give you the excuse that you have, then like you're not a good person. You're not helping anyone but yourself, you know. All right, so you have to remember, we're all weak, we all yearn, we all lust, right? And they are the people that can honestly, they're the people we must focus on. The people who have a chance to be redeemed, who really just need like a friend, someone to listen to them, someone to show them a right example. People who know that like, hey, this is wrong, but like I don't, everyone else does it, so I do it too, right? Like those are the people who you really need to just pull aside and be like, come on, like, you know, like this is not okay, right? Like all of this is not okay, right? Like you're bad and you're bad, but like the problem in a situation comes when like two parties can't both admit fault. If both parties can't come together and be like, listen, I was bad for doing this, but you were also bad for doing that. Like I did this because you did that. Like you don't treat me like so golden where I'm there, you know, like I deserve to just live like a doormat. And when it boils down to stuff like that, it's like, you know, how you behave, who you are really matters. You have to always, you know, people don't do bad things to you unless you've normally done bad things to them. That's the real truth of it, right? It's very seldom that somebody just like goes out of their way to do you harm because you never actually did harm to them. It may happen once or twice. Normally it's a person jealous of things that you have, right? Like that's the only time that someone like that will tend to come into your life. Is normally it's I mean, happenstance happens, right? But most happenstance, it's like, well, you still knew not to go down that dark alley. Like if you didn't go down that dark alley, it wouldn't have happened to you. If you didn't walk down that street at 3 a.m., if you didn't drink at the place, you know, here or there or here, or like you knew better. Like why were you going there, right? Like who do you know there? It's like, well, why should I need to live that way? Well, unfortunately, this is the world we're in, right? You learn the hard way then. And we do. We have some stories to tell. For we are weak humans, I've said this, and all of us are weak, but we can all build a utopia together if we get the good, if we as good people rise up and we step forward. And I think even Ariel will remember that, like, I used to tell him that, like, you know, sex outside of marriage is wrong. Like, I was a naive, funny little kid, still in the 90s, right? I thought you could go to jail if you went to the adult video section, because that's what my mom told me. We went to the video store and she's like, you see where it says that, like, if you're an 18, like, you can't go in there? She's like, if you go in there, there's cameras. Those cameras will find you, and then they're going to tell the police, and the police are going to put you in jail. And I'm like, really? And she's like, yeah. And I swear I believed it till I was 13. I wouldn't even question it, right? I'd be like so embarrassed to even be like, I'd be like, of course that makes sense. Of course I'm not allowed to see those things, right? Like, it's like, of course I shouldn't see those things. And then you see them too early on, and then you understand, like, I should have waited much longer to see these things. It's not a good thing to see them young. It's really not. It's just not. It's bad. We all know it's bad. We all know it's bad and why. We know. Okay, so we're going to discuss Kabbalah, and it's got two main forms. And like, honestly, I would tell my child this early on, be like, don't watch it. It's like a demon will come right into your brain. And it does. Okay, so we're going to discuss Kabbalah. Practical Kabbalah and spiritual Kabbalah, right? So practical Kabbalah uses the Hebrew alphabet, and that's evoking God's hidden names. And you can only tap into this power once you've reached the highest form of metaphysical Kabbalah. So to even touch practical Kabbalah safely, remotely safely, right? Where you can understand what you're looking at, and like, you can't trust anything you just find in a book, right? Like, it's not how that works. So I doubt any one book has the right recipe on its own, like the true recipe that like it's professing to have. So you're using God's hidden names to evoke certain powers, and it talks about that throughout the Talmud and the Torah, how certain prophets, right, they evoke God's name, write it down on like a piece of paper, and then like something ends up happening, right? Like the goat appears, you know, like the Kabbalah is replete with this practical Kabbalah where it's like the moment that you need it to happen, a certain circumstances come into effect, right? Like just like cast your nets, right? Like do this thing I'm telling you to do, right? Like and that's how Kabbalah is evoked, right? It's like I'm picturing this thing, do it, like and it's a combination of thought, action, and speech that you're practicing in metaphysical Kabbalah. So you're trying to enter a trance, and in that trance you're trying to kind of connect yourself to the thought highway of the world. And in order to do this is not easy. It's like most of us are closed within ourselves. I like to call this like, this is your imagination, right? Like a lot of people have active imaginations. Think of your imagination where you're not controlling it, right? Where you just kind of like let it go into like the stasis, where for me it's just like almost like a fuzzy TV, like an old TV, where like images are just kind of like shifting through all of it. That's how my imagination kind of works. And then in that flow of information, right, that's where you're gonna find what you're supposed to find. So within our thoughts, right, like other thoughts will come in, and then the goal of the true Kabbalist, the goal of somebody who really understands Jewish mysticism, is you are going to try and figure out which of those thoughts came from benevolent sources, and then which of those thoughts are coming from like evil sources that you've attracted in, because like you're bound to do that. Even inside of a synagogue, very powerful evil forces can easily get through the wards of a synagogue, right? Like those are really only going to protect the most like base evil spirits from entering. The really more advanced ones, the ones that like prey on like the more subtle ways, and the ones that like, you know, can reach the furthest and influence the most amount of people, those are the ones that like you will come into contact with regularly in a synagogue. And why? Because like those creatures are waiting for it in their homes, right? It's like they know how easily you're going to be able to access that space. That's why you're always going to be touching into that. Like it's like you know, in Warhammer they have that like force called the Warp. And that's almost what it is. It's like every time you tap into this substance, there's a risk that you're taking on, because like whatever you're coming into contact with, it might not be good, right? And it often isn't. And then you have to, you know, really, number one, be understand what you're willingly asking for, because like to a lot of people, it's like if I knew what I was inviting, I wouldn't have done it. And then it's like, well, for some of us, it's like somebody's got to do it, right? Like if everybody else is like, no, I don't want it, and then nobody else is like, well, maybe somebody has to take the burden on, right? And fight it directly. And if that has to be me, then I don't know. I feel sad for myself to even, but it's like nobody else stands up and even wants to come near people that have been down the darkest roads. And it's kind of sad, because it's like, well, we actually know what's going on better than any of you do, right? Like we know like the real signs of what's wrong better than most people do, right? Like I can tell you whether somebody's normally suffering from addiction or like serious problems. So examples of Kabbalah I was saying before. So you have like Jesus with the nets, could be explained as Kabbalah. Of course, that could also just be explained as God's power. But the power of the prophets is Kabbalah, right? Like that's what it is. Like when they heal the sick, when they paint that the words, and then what they paint comes true. So that's all Kabbalah, practical Kabbalah. And then this is loosening up a bit. It's really tight. My shin still on. Still, I should probably redo it, but no, it's still holding. It's waning, but it's still strong. All right, so I was telling you before about the passage about there being 20,000 planets. So many people question how old Kabbalah really is based on Google searches, right? Because Google will basically be like it's from the Middle Ages, right? But to really understand the Talmud, you have to understand the principles of the Kabbalah. The Kabbalah is what teaches you the rules that you need to apply into the Talmud to understand what it's doing when it's being applied to the Torah, and it's trying to tell you, well, see this part in the Torah that says 20,000? The real answer is 16,000, and we know this because of this weird rule where God's name appears, and then because of these letters before and after it, we deduct 2 here and we deduct 2 here, and this is the real answer. And there's this like cipher matrix going on basically within the Torah that is hinted at in Talmudic scripture, and then Kabbalah is basically affirming like, oh well, here are the rules that actually tell you like how they got to this weird stuff in the Talmud. So then that's how you know that like, well, Kabbalah actually goes back that long, because it's like, well, how did they know these answers unless they knew what's in this book, right? So Kabbalah is basically explaining the formulas that were used to get the answers in the Talmud from the Torah. So then that's how most Jews extrapolate, well, that's how old Kabbalah is. And then the planet where it talks about the passage where it talks about all those planets, it mentions how God goes each day to nourish them, and then that's an explanation for literally the like 3,000-year-old Babylonian Talmud talking about life on other planets. How like, well, actually it's talking about aliens, because like, why would God go to these other planets if like things weren't on them that he needed to like keep alive, and that's why he's nourishing them. Like, why would he waste his time, right? Why would he go to these dead planets unless something was there that was worth his time? So, and one thing to remember is demonology is the root of Kabbalah, right? Like, I've studied this extensively now. Like, I really dug deep into my own Jewish mysticism. And like, I'll even admit, like, I learned a lot of it by understanding its inversion, which is demonology, right? Like, demonology takes like Kabbalah, what I sort of study, like even wearing this, I very seldom wear this, right? Like, I'm only wearing it just to show you guys, like, I am a Jewish wizard, right? Like I'm supposed, like this was passed down from my grandparents. Like, I know how to wrap it, I know the way to wear it, I know what like the symbology is, and like I choose really not to wear it too often because well, but right? Maybe we'll always wear it on stream, who knows? Maybe that's what he intends. So, is it gonna suddenly get tighter? Oh, tight. That's it. Decorate the rest of it. Hey, forget to wrap the rest of it? Okay, we can just win it. What else do we want to talk about? Did we talk about through the 7 gates and how every gate is leading you to your afterlife? And then, yeah, and then if you get to the next level, that's where you join God in creation, right? So when people are like, well, the Jews don't even know what their own afterlife is, they just speak of like if you're a really bad person, they say you go to a place that's like purgatory, where it's just like a state of nothingness. Like, your soul has been transported out of existence, and it's true. You're in the like you're where the book came from. That's where they are from. They're from that space, from nothing, right? They are nothing, right? Like they come from nothing, and they want everyone to like indulge in these like base carnal desires that are just pure destruction. They're nothing, right? Like they bring nothingness. They are nothingness, and they encourage that nothingness, and that's why they have to be just like pushed and repelled at all costs. Wow, this is so beautiful. I think on purpose. I'm being a little shook. Alright, is that all I want to talk about? There's gotta be more. Yeah, okay, hold on. There's a bit more. Oh, I talked about that. Okay. And then, alright, people are gonna ask, like, why would, okay, here's some questions people ask, right? Some crazy questions that people ask of, like, you know, like old Jewish men. They're like, why like, what is homosexuality according to the Torah, right? Like, what is it according to the Kabbalah? And the Kabbalah will say that, like, these are people whose souls were the opposite gender in the previous life, and because of this, they've taken on the forms of this new, you know, like in their new body, they're still feeling the attraction that they had in the previous life. And then, like, why are they doing this? Because, like, this is the journey that God set them on. And, like, unfortunately, like, it's probably people like, you know, like me and many others who, you know, like, that's it. That's all I'm going to say. I probably should say no more. It's probably already saying too much, but it's true. If we don't provide the perfect environment for people, then like we can't end up faulting them for the decisions they end up making, because we never provided like the essentials that like God basically said, right? Like unless all circumstances are perfect, the way that I have set them out to be, if they are not in like, you know, still under this application, then like you must adjust as well, right? Like everything is followed to a point, just like everything God decrees to a point, just like God saying like I will do this and like this will happen forever, and then like there's still a way to redeem yourself, because there's always a way to redeem yourself, because that is kind of the story of reality, is like we all fail, and then it's like how do you get up, dust yourself off, and then try and do good, and then hopefully act as a beacon for others to do good too, right? Because it's like a chain reaction. It's like a lot of people must stand up and must voice themselves and kind of be like, well, enough is enough. Like at the very least, like good people need to speak up and say we tried, right? No matter how many people are like, yo, just keep your head down, like why are you bothering, like this is dumb. It's like, well, you think it's dumb now, but it's like things like Overton windows shift so fast, so rapidly. People are so clueless because like they exist in realities that they don't understand. They're not around the kinds of people that I am. They don't know, right? And that's just the sad truth that we exist in. Is like I look like a nice, sweet, like Jewish boy, but unfortunately, I wish I had the you know, like I got all the perks that come with that, because I definitely you know, hard knocks sometimes. Anyways, what else to discuss right now? Kind of just like wandering off with my thoughts. Maybe we can talk a bit about magic. Okay, so why am I playing this deck? I'm playing this deck because it's cheap, right? So like we're gonna drift from the mysticism. Okay, we're done with the mysticism for today. We're done with the mysticism. We're just gonna talk magic for a bit. All right, shalom, my friends. All right, time to just I don't have to read it. I can just talk magic. All right, so the magic. What we're gonna do, or rather, why I was doing it. Okay, so it's cheap, right? When you start Magic Arena, you get a bunch of these like starter packs, and then with the starter packs, what you can do is you get a bunch of like wild cards, and you can use those wild cards to redeem them for this deck. This deck basically only uses like uncommons and commons, and it's got like maybe like 8 rares in it or something. The rares are really few and far between. You don't need like any. So really you just like need a bunch of like uncommons. You can get that with your like starting deck. So it was a great starter deck, and it was doing good in the meta. And then like I played it for a while, and I'm actually pretty decent at it. Like I was looking at like how fast I've climbed through the ranks and where I started and how long I've put into the game, and I'm doing pretty well. I'm at Diamond Tier 1, right? So it's like the second highest, literally right before hitting the top tier. So I'm hoping I can get there real soon. It's just that like now I'm facing really hard opponents, and then like I've kind of noticed that every day, the first like 10 matches, they're paired against decks that like, it's a good mix and match. And then like if I'm winning really well, they'll just start sending me decks that crush me, right? Like these decks that just like, no, not this again. Not white, blue control with the like take all mana creatures under 2. Not this guy. This guy is my nightmare. All he does is just remove, and then he's got these like things that make these like 10-10 robots on turn 7. Which is like, how do I get it? Yeah, this guy's just like, I can't deal with this. Right? And it's like, you can't just retool your deck to face this one guy because it's not working. What are you trying to do? Oh yeah, like that game, man. And then it's like, you get the red guy and you're like, no, my other deck where it's just cool, right? And like, I can sometimes win the white blue deck, but he needs to be struggling to find one of these pieces. Or not have a piece to dig with. Which is rare. And I think it's so good. It's really hard for me. So we've been on our way. What we're doing, all these matches are best of 1, right? The best of 1 means like I can literally use tactics that might not be expected, right? Like sometimes you'll see I literally throw the shelter on the guy before he goes like, before he no targets even. Because they'll be like, oh, I know this deck. This is that set where like as soon as they start getting 7-8 mana and the creatures start coming out or things come out where you're even gonna wanna shelter them, it's like you already lost the game. Like whatever, if you had that shelter in your hand, you're like, oh, I'm holding it back. Like you're better off just throwing it, right? Like maybe that'll get you that extra damage. Maybe that'll get you that 1 extra win out of 10 that it wouldn't otherwise. Because you're willing to just be like, you know what? I'm just gonna try and go for it because nothing's gonna change if I get that into the game anyway. It's like that deck's not designed to go really deep, it's fragile. It's like it needs all these pieces to be built together, and then like it just doesn't have time to build pieces. It doesn't have draw, right? Where these other decks are just like restricting their hands way too quickly. So this deck is really like I gotta just assemble this like car and just like try and just like careen through however I build this car, right? Like whether it's with the ethereal armor or whether it's the optimist scavenger and like right or the like double striking spider thing, right? It's all these little tools that like come together and they blend really well, but it's like it's only pretty fragile and it's like by turn 4, 5, 6, it's like once it goes longer than that, it's gonna be really hard to win. You're most likely gonna lose. Doesn't mean like just give up. Some of the matches I'll show, like you'll see like I stuck it out and I end up winning because of just pure grit. And sometimes it's like the opponent makes a mistake and you can capitalize right on it, right? Like you'll see too though, like I make mistakes, right? Like a lot of my wins are not like flawless victories. A lot of times I take chances that other players might not take. They might have been like, no, I would have held that removal back the right places to hold it back, but you might have lost the buck. And it's like, well, I think I lose to that deck so often that I don't care. It's almost better to just try and do this thing that he's not going to expect at all. He's already like, like maybe he'll get 1, right? He'll stop for 1. You're not going to get both. And yeah, maybe I don't have any removal. Maybe I have to kill him in 2 turns, but maybe I think I can do it, right? Like maybe I'm going to try and sequence such a way where he doesn't even realize like this is what I'm trying to get into. Like sometimes I almost like especially if I already have like an optimistic scavenger out on the field, And it's like, okay, I can change it to another optimistic scavenger, or I can choose like with the ethereal armor, and that'll be enough if I can get the ethereal armor to land. So let me throw out the optimistic scavenger with the hopes that he's going to get countered. So it's then I have kind of the coast is clear to drop the ethereal armor, right? It's almost like you're sacrificing a creature that very early on most players are going to be like, why would you ever do that? This is because like, I'm trying to finish this guy like same turn, right? Like I'm not trying to play games. It's like or sometimes I'll even take the clue spell, right? Or it's like, just please just take one. Yeah. On away. Enjoying it. I'm doing pretty good. Who knows? Like maybe I can up my game a bit more. I like to think I'm getting actually better. Like I'm thinking of like better combos, right? To kind of get off. Like I'm understanding how to play the decks much better. What they can do, like when to really be worried, what the trick is, right? Like a lot of it is like, so like I need to double think for that. Okay. Or it's like I just need to figure out like there's a way to do it this turn. I needed to do like wait a bit longer and sequence it differently, and then I could have gotten that, right? Like the extra 1 damage I need. There's some games, so many games where I lose 1 damage. If I only had the 1 damage, I would have won. Guys, if you like this content, please remember to like and subscribe, especially if you watched all the way to the end of this video.